Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey. I'm a graphic designer, brand designer, just overall creative person, and I'm so happy you're here. So I create videos all around just different content that relates to graphic design and then my lifestyle with it. So if you're interested in any of that, please consider subscribing down below and liking this video. I'd really appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about how to choose fonts. This is really important when it comes to creating your brand or creating brands for clients or whatever you're needing different font selections for. It's really just important to stay cohesive with it. So I'm going to talk about how to do that when it comes to your brand style guide. And then I'm also going to talk about how you choose fonts, pairing them, where you can find different ones, how you can adjust them and make them custom to you, and just using them within brand marks. So there's a lot of different aspects we're going to cover today, and let's get into it. So before we get into the different fonts and how to select fonts and choosing them, I want to talk about the sponsor of this video, who is also a great option when you are looking for fonts, and that's Envato Elements. So Envato Elements is a membership platform that has all kinds of different graphics, stock imagery, templates, photos, website templates, audio, video elements, and font elements, and so much more. They're constantly uploading new options as well, so you'll be having a library to choose from. They do offer memberships that start at $16.50 per month. I'll link them down below so you can learn more about them for yourself. But there's someone that I've been using a lot lately. I've had them sponsor a couple of my videos in the past. Really love them, and they are one of my go-tos when it comes to looking for a font, or when I'm looking for imagery for mood boards, or I'm looking for a good mock-up selection for my social. They just have a great selection to pick from, and I'm not constantly spending money like I was doing in the past when I would be purchasing all these various different elements. I'm getting a way better deal by just having the monthly subscription with Envato. So I would highly recommend them, and check them out down below. So in one of my recent videos, it was all about brand style guides. I'll link it down below, but basically I just share in each of those aspects about the different font choices that come with your brand. And a result of that was someone commenting and wanting to learn more about fonts and having just some more questions about it. So I thought this video would be really helpful for people that are just starting to learn those different aspects of branding, or maybe want to get more into it. Inside the brand style guides I create for my client, I always share the different font selections. This is usually in the way of having the header, the subheader, and then a copy font. So there's usually around 2 to 3 fonts that are selected. A lot of times the font that I use within the logo design will also be used as the header, but that's not always the case, and it doesn't always have to be the case. Basically, when I am creating a font, I am using a variety of them within the mood board options, and so I want to think about if this user wants something that has sans serif, a serif potential, decorative, script, a whole variety of fonts, and what to choose from. But I am labeling those throughout the mood boards, and then when we go into the logo step, I am taking into consideration what we've chosen and discovered there. I also do send out a questionnaire to my clients that have a little bit more about their logo specifics, so they can answer those questions. Basically, I like to have the header be something that stands out a little bit different, so that's usually the same as logo, but if I am hand drawing the logo or custom creating it, then I will not have that be the same. But I like that header to be usually like a serif, something decorative, something that stands out. And then I'll also take that same header and adjust it for either a subheader, or I'll have a serif version there that is then again used in the paragraph option. I want the paragraph option to be something that is obviously easy to read, because that's what it's meant to be for. I don't want it to be too decorative, but you can use serifs when it comes to this. And if you want to know a little bit more about serif or sans serif, it's just really having feet on your letters compared to not having any feet. So there's just 2 different examples I can share here with that. Within these style guides, I also like to share how far you should be creating the spacing between these different letters, because that's also important with consistency as well as your line height within it. This is something that you just come to realize the more you do graphic design, what feels good about having that white space. So if you watch my video about design principles, I talk about white space, and that comes into play a lot with text because sometimes less is more. A lot of times actually less is more. So keeping that in mind when it comes to text and having space around it so the text can actually breathe and make it something that the user wants to read and is more approachable instead of feeling overwhelming. The main aspect of having this within your brand style guide is so that you have this to continue to reference like everything else in there, so you can keep that consistency that builds the trust with your audience and has an overall look and feel that stays true to your brand and the emotions that you want to evoke and just the overall feeling with your brand. Next up, I just want to touch on fonts with logos. So selecting a font for your logo is really important because that's what you're going to be using as your word mark, as any aspect moving forward. It's really a great opportunity to either hand draw your own font. So this is super easy to do, whether you can do it by pen and paper in your sketchbook, or if you have an iPad and maybe you can create on Procreate, or even doing it within Adobe Illustrator. A lot of times if you're doing it with pen and paper or on the iPad, you can bring it into Adobe Illustrator and then image trace it, and then that will create it to be outlined. You can't per se type with it from there, but you at least have the option to have it as a vectorized text. But if you're going the route where you are using a font that you are purchasing online or you are downloading from a website where you can get the license for it, just remember to keep in mind also you need to have licensing for these fonts. So I always include that in the brand style guide where my clients can download the font license because you want to make sure you're keeping everything legal and fair with that. But basically, when it comes to customizing a font that you've purchased, you can create outlines with it in Adobe Illustrator. That's how I like to do it, and then you can adjust it from there. So I like to kern my letters, and so kerning is just adjusting the letters from their spacing, and it's not a set adjustment per a letter, but it's having that feeling again almost of having the space in between those letters and fitting it to be custom to each letter. I also then like to maybe make some more adjustments either with the pen tool or different erasers on Adobe Illustrator. That's a great way to customize it and either add more aspects to it with the pen tool or just overall make it more unique to that brand and to their overall goals that they want to have. So lastly, I just want to quickly touch on where you can find fonts. I of course want to recommend Envato Elements first of all because they are a great resource that I've been using to find fonts that you can easily license like I was just touching on. They have a whole variety of selections. I recently shared a few that I really liked over on Instagram, so go ahead and check that out. I share monthly favorite fonts, and so I provided various ones over there. But I also like to recommend Adobe Fonts, of course. It goes well if you already have the Adobe Suite subscription. You can just access Adobe Fonts online. And then down below, they often have good font pairings. So if this is something you're new to, this might be a good route to go because you could find that first font that you like and then use their font pairing suggestion and then get familiar with the pairings and what typically works well together, and you'll gather a sense on how to do that yourself. Another option is of course Creative Market. So if you don't know, Creative Market is just an online resource for designers or creatives. They provide a weekly freebie selection. So if you give them your email address, you can download weekly freebies, and a lot of times they do include fonts. You will need to check on that depending on the font, what the license you get with it, but at least you'll get the aspect to play around with it at first and see if you want to further purchase it, which is great. Lastly, I love coming across custom font creators, and so there's two I want to shout out today. The first one is Hermanes Visuals, and so they just have a great online resource with fonts, different font bundles you can buy. They also have really great mock-ups if you're looking for mock-ups, but they are a great place to start. And then also Chaz Nunes, I think that's how you pronounce it, but they have a great online shop as well with having different fonts, and they're also just two great creators, so supporting a small business, which is something that I always like to consider when I am working with people and being a small business myself, so check them out. And that is a brief overview on how to choose fonts, a little bit more about fonts. If you have any questions, please drop them down below, or any comments. I would love to hear what your favorite font is so I can check it out, or maybe your font creator, your font resource library. Please let me know. I'm always looking to expand my own collection on that. And thank you again to Envato Elements for sponsoring this video. I am so thankful to them, and they are a really great resource to have, so really recommend checking them out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.